So it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for the friendly introduction. We are actually a pan-European fund, new kids on the block, so we are very happy to be here to connect with regional investors and good startups because we want to create pan-European or global companies, so really want to push companies ahead. As a pan-European institution, I would like to, first of all, express our solidarity with all the people fighting in Ukraine, because we cannot just talk about everything in this kind of crisis. Our topic now is more climate change. We need to stop to exploit our planet systematically. We need to transform our economy from a linear fossil-based industry to a more bio-based circular one. And all this transformation process is of course connected with great business opportunities. We think, similar as in the digitalization area, we will see an exponential growth in the innovation process, so it's a very dynamic field we are looking at, and we will see new business concepts coming up, and the speed of the change is so high that the large companies cannot make it. So they need to have innovation from outside. They need to get startups involved. So that's a very great environment for startups and venture capital. So even if this sector, bioeconomy, is not regarded very much during the past, it will come on the screen now. So that's the right time. And we even believe there's a shift in the paradigm in different sectors. We need that shift. So look to the chemical industry, for instance. 120 years ago, all the chemist people, they went to the ground and soil to get some ingredients out of this to produce dyes and some of this stuff. And then we had of course, the petrochemical industry, which is actually a linear fossil-based industry, and all the plastic produced, you will find it in the ocean and at the end of our plate. So we want to have a change in this. And all of them have understood. And now we are on the way to do it, and we need innovation, startups, to make it running. And right at the moment, we see also 4 great drivers for this transformation process to make it happen. And actually the first one is actually you. These are the consumer demand is changing. We have more consideration of climate change in future. Especially with young people, we need to put more attention on this. And that is actually the most important driver, reaching all the B2B business as well. The next one is, of course, the public support. So we have the Green Deal on the European level, but also many, many different support schemes and initiatives in countries and regions. And also the framework, the regulatory framework, is increasing for better. So new business will become possible. And also a very important driver of this is, of course, R&D, world-class science here. So we have great innovation coming up, and we have to pick it up, to bring it together with great entrepreneurs, and to make it running. In addition, the investors, especially also the large pension funds, insurance companies, they look to impact and ESG completely different today. If they see a target which is not aligned with ESG, they see an additional risk for their returns. So that is completely new, because some years before it was a trade-off. So if you do impact, you cannot deliver returns on a high level. So today it's all combined. And therefore, the investors like to invest in funds or in companies having a good impact. So that's why we could raise 300 million, and we are connected with all these great investors. But however, we need to learn. We need to switch in this industry. It's not enough just to continue like before. If you invest in digital topics or pharmaceutical topics, it's completely different. So in the bioeconomy area, you have mainly a very high level of complexity. That means you have the whole process. So you need to look to feedstock for your input. You need to look to the production facilities, processes need to be developed, and a new product. So that's a very high level of complexity already. And in addition, you need to look to logistics, because sometimes you have large factories and you need to ship it around. You have also an uncertain regulatory framework. So the framework is turning out to become better, but it's also a lot of movement in this area. And of course, then you need to do the sales, which is of course most demanding, but also uncertain. And to cover all this complexity, it's almost impossible for a small team. So you need to you need to have experienced people, and of course, that's why investors have some difficulties to enter this space. So you need to have investors maybe with some expertise. But on the other hand, it's always exciting to look at it. So we have great opportunities, innovation, exciting consumer demand, so there's traction from the market, and the regulatory framework bring us a push. And the market size is huge. Just in all the subsectors of the bioeconomy, you find huge markets. It's 2.4 trillion euros here, according to the Nova Institute. So, and also this regard to impact and ESG is very important. And that is also our mission. We don't want to invest just money in anything. We want to make a difference. And of course, making good returns for our LPs. And that is all, because there's higher level of traction, we have great stories, high talented people are entering this field, so we have more management capacity, which is, of course, the main point, because you always invest in people. So the success stories, they're driving the whole story as well. So the whole sector is driven by those kind of success stories. And we have some. If you look to Oatly, for instance, from Sweden, it's a company, they went public, and they have now a valuation above 4 billion. That's exciting, and it's just milk from oat. And most of the people don't put milk anymore from cows in their coffee. They prefer to have oat milk. It's better from taste, and it's better for the environment, and it's just good and it's fashion, in a way. We have also the large topic of textile recycling. So textile is a huge waste stream. Most of it's just burned, or you find it in landfill. And so there's a high need to do recycling on that. And Renocell, they went also public, and they have a valuation of 350 million euros already. It's also a Swedish company. And then, of course, these are great benchmarks. And so that means you can do. And even these great companies here, they are all part of our portfolio already. So we invested in them. So the products, they produce insects on a very, very high level. There's a factory you can see here, which is on a very high level. They have already 10,000 tons capacity, and they are the world-leading company in producing insects for feed, not for humans. So don't worry. And there are quite a number of stories, and this is actually very important to tell them, to share them, to make you interested in this area. What is it about? Bioeconomy, I think we think about three main topics. So first of all, it's the production of biomass. So that's all ag-tech and the production of food and feed. Also the brand business, D2C business, for instance. And then you have the bio-based materials going into sustainable packaging and construction materials. Textile recycling is also important. And of course then a so-called white biotech, industrial biotech. You have enzymes to produce, to accelerate and catalyze your processes. These are all very interesting areas. We think it's also important not just to look to the returns. It's also and potential, the growth story must be in place. We also look to the so-called ESG, that is environmental, social, and good governance. And we need to have all of them in place. So, of course, as a bioeconomy fund, we look to the E more intensively. But if you don't have any rules for for your social things. That is actually, gender diversity. How do you look to make sure that your employees are in a proper shape, working together with you? And of course, governance. We have transparency, a professional level of ruling the company. And who is doing that? The ECBF fund is a team which is important, but we are backed by 25 investors. The most important partner of us is the European Investment Bank. So they initiated the fund, but then we are a private venture capital fund. They were looking for a team executing this to close the growth stage funding gap here in Europe. And then we have quite a number of other investors, as you can see, from insurance companies, family offices, and corporates, bringing along not just the money, also great network, because they're interested in transformation as well. And they can, a lot of startups can benefit from this. What kind of investments we do? So we do investments all across Europe, European Union countries, and the so-called associate countries. That is even including Ukraine and goes down to Israel and to Turkey. We see we want to do investments in companies ready to grow. So the product is ready, technology can go further on. We want to contribute a growth money, so that is around, the usual ticket is 5 million, the first one, and we want to allocate around 10 to 12 million on average to each company, so we want to do 25 altogether with the fund. But the range is large, from 2 to 30 million. So we can really support companies to grow, which is very, very important. But we cannot do that alone. We would like to do that with partners from the region. Otherwise, you don't know what kind of deals you get on your table. And we want to play an active role. It's important to bring expertise and experience to the table because of the high level of complexity we have already discussed. And of course, ESG is actually a prerequisite. We want to see ESG alignment and an impact to the so-called SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. Who is doing that? So we have a very diversified team. So we look also to S in the ESG. And you can see the team here we have 22 people here from 14 different nationalities. So we are really a pan-European or global institution located in Luxembourg, but we are spread all across. We speak 12 languages and have 7 locations already for our activities. And of course, we are also very closely connected to Poland. As you can see here, the front person here, that's Jovita. She's sitting here in front, coming from Warsaw, and is of course well connected to the Polish ecosystem. We believe that Poland has good potential for this. And the whole Eastern European area is interesting because of very great level of feedstock and very great expertise, especially in the digital sector, so that we can combine this. So just, we are also friendly people, as you can see. You can just come to us and talk to us, so we will try to help you if we can. So this one is also the view on the network. So we know that the team is very active, but we need to get into contact to all the regional networks, regional investors to cooperate with. And that's why we are so happy to be here, and that's why we are so happy that Wolf Summit is organizing such a great event to bring people together so that we can connect. And these networks are sometimes very strong and powerful. So that's what we are, we are working on this very systematically, and just to demonstrate and present that we don't believe that we can do that alone. It's this kind of high challenging area. We want to connect with you as a startup, as an entrepreneur, and with the venture capital companies doing regional business. We want to catalyze the transition towards a sustainable future. by investing innovative, bio-based, and circular ventures. And if you want to follow this mission, just come to us and we share. Thank you very much.